I took a 30-day social media detox, and this is what I learned. After having posted 3 times a day for over 2.5 years, both in the story and in the feed, and being absolutely consumed and wrapped up in the digital vortex, all I know is that I was not feeling good. I was feeling like shit. I was feeling more alienated than I've ever felt. Over the past 3 years, I spent all my time building my company, Dorothy House Media, which is a company that specifically serves entrepreneurial influencers. I found myself lost in the digital vortex of chasing the flavor of the day and whatever the hot metrics were of the day, and I was making metric-driven decisions, data-driven decisions, instead of making value-driven decisions. And I think the only thing that matters is deciding who it is you want to serve, the change it is that you seek to make, as Seth Godin would say, and then you get busy shipping that art or shipping that creative work out, and that's it. You don't focus on anything else. On the surface, everything looked successful. I was speaking on huge stages, working with some of the biggest entrepreneurial influencers in the space, but for whatever reason, something felt off. Like, you would think on the outside, looking in, everything seemed great, but I wasn't feeling good about what I was doing. And the reason is I didn't have clarity. I think the main reason is I lost my purpose and I lost my identity, in that I wasn't being true to who I was and being true to what my message was. I was instead taking in information and trying to figure out what people wanted me to say or wanted me to do, instead of going, okay, this is the thing that I'm uniquely qualified to do. And social media is a platform for me to amplify that thing and ship that thing, whatever that thing is, that creative work, in other words, to be able to ship that to more people than I might have ever been able to do it. And I think that's really what was going on. I was feeling completely disconnected, and I was looking around me, seeing what other people were doing, and I was trying to mimic what they were doing, which is, it's completely fleeting, and it's a completely shallow endeavor. It's gonna make you feel like in the end. If you're not doing something that is not meaningful to you, you're eventually gonna feel like and eventually feel like everything you're doing is shallow, and it's not gonna end very well. You can't make something for everybody. And basically that's what happens, right? And so if you're looking at information, if you're consuming social media, as an example, you're scrolling to death and you're seeing, oh, this is what everyone's doing. And so you try to make something that satisfies everyone. Basically, you're making something for no one. And I didn't understand that. I did not understand that. And I was throwing money, time, and resources at this company, trying to satisfy everybody. And I was just frustrating myself, and oftentimes I was frustrating our customers, because I wasn't brave enough to make a decision and say, this is who I serve, this is the change that I seek to make with those people, and this isn't for a lot of people. And just focus on serving the specific people that I intend to serve. And I think it's very, very easy in this social media universe to get wrapped up in that, where you're like just trying to make everyone happy and you're trying to satisfy everybody, and it's like, okay, what's hot right now? And that changes with the wind, and you're never going to be happy. You're always going to be frustrated. And like I said, it's basically a vortex, a digital vortex that you get wrapped up in. And I think that's what I finally realized what was wrong, is that I was trying to do something for everybody. I was trying to compete with like the Fiverrs and the Upworks, which makes us a commoditized company, which means you're in trouble. As soon as you become a commodity, you have a serious problem on your hands. But if you have something that serves only a specific audience, then you're in good shape, and then you can be hyper-focused on everything you're doing. I got to a point where I was so frustrated, I woke up one morning and I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. I was basically losing it. So I had a trip planned, and I was gonna be in an area near Lake Tahoe. So I decided to take a drive. I took a drive and I went to a little place called Emerald Bay, and I overlooked the lake. And there's something about putting yourself in position to be awe-inspired that helps you sort of reconnect. So if you're feeling wrapped around the axle, or you're feeling frustrated and you feel like there are no answers, nobody could help you, you just feel like super tight, I recommend doing what I did, which is go into nature, away from your regular environment. A lot of times you get clarity in those settings. You get a moment of clarity because you're away from the everyday life, away from the grind, away from the mundane tasks that you're having to deal with every day. And it gives you an opportunity to go, okay, what's going on here? Why am I frustrated? And that's what happened for me. I was overlooking Emerald Bay and I realized like everything I was doing for the wrong reasons. And I made a choice to liquidate another one of my assets to fund my company, which was my piano, which was very personal and basically sacred to me. And because I felt like, oh, it's just a box of money sitting over there, I don't need it. But I realized the value, I wasn't thinking about the value that it brought to me and how important it was to me deep inside. It was like everything to me. It was the only place that I had to go. A place that I could be vulnerable, I could be honest, you know, and a place that was just sacred and intimate to me personally. I'm a person that has to be responsible for a lot of people. I have kids, I have a family, I have people that work with me and for me. And so it was a place that I was able to go where it was just me and the instrument, and I got everything out of it and more that I put in. And that just literally broke me. And I basically broke down in that moment, and I realized, man, I've taken it too far. Like I'm doing something wrong. So I did something that might have seemed extreme, and that was kind of scared me a little bit, and I was a little bit fearful to do. I walked away from everything, all my social media platforms. I just removed them from my phone. That was it. I didn't delete the accounts necessarily. I just took them off my phone, didn't access them. So I didn't post anything. I didn't deploy anything. No content, and I didn't consume anything. It's crazy. Unconnecting helped me reconnect. I realized in that moment that I had to stop being the person that I created and start being the person I was created to be. And I think there is so much distraction right now. It's so easy to lose sight of who we are and what we're here to do. It's very, very easy, and it's not a good feeling. And there is a way, there is a path. You can find balance in life. And like productivity and standardization right now it's everything, right? So everyone is being pushed into a metric more than ever. And we're all just comparing productivity essentially. Like, what is the purpose of productivity if it doesn't lead you to a higher level of self-actualization or transcendence? So the position that I take now and what I realized in my research is like, all I see is a competition of productivity everywhere, all over social media, no matter what genre we're talking about. It's very easy for you to feel inferior when you see that. I'm not saying productivity is a bad thing. I'm saying the purpose of your efforts of productivity can be a bad thing. I reached this milestone, now I gotta go to the next one. But like, what's the purpose of that thing? Otherwise it's just fleeting. So that's what I realized for myself is like, what am I doing all of this for? Like, where am I trying to go? What am I trying to do? Who am I trying to serve? What is my legacy? Those are the kinds of questions that you should be asking yourself. All of us should be asking ourselves. Right now, the world needs help. I mean, when I look around, I see people, they're more alienated, sadder than ever, more depressed than ever, but it's easier than ever and we're more connected than we've ever been. So there's just something wrong with that picture. And that's the work that I've committed to. I've committed to uncovering that problem and trying to develop resources and information to give away to people to help them feel more connected and more whole and more human and more unified, and find these pathways to higher level of self-actualization and transcendence. So that's my purpose at this point. That's what I've committed to do specifically, and I want to work with entrepreneurs that are interested in that work. So in the first few days after deleting my social media, of course, I just had reflexive movements where I was just going to grab my phone just for the sake of grabbing my phone and numb out like I know a lot of us do. I started realizing, okay, I have to replace this time, and I started noticing stuff. Like I started noticing trees swaying, the bunnies in my neighborhood. I started noticing the light illuminating through the window, cutting through the trees, the breeze. I started hearing the wind. I started listening to my own thoughts and not running away from them, allowing myself to sit in silence, to sit at the table and eat breakfast without technology in my face or the television on or whatever it was. And I started realizing, wait a minute, I'm a part of all this stuff. Like, whatever's giving me life is giving life to all of this out here too. And so maybe I need to be reminded of that once in a while, that I'm a part of everything that's beautiful and everything that's magnificent out here in this universe. And so that's what I replaced my time with. I spent more time outside. I spent more time doing things that were meaningful to me, such as playing my instruments, guitar and piano. I read more, I wrote more, and slowly I started feeling more and more connected, and it feels great. In fact, my new definition of art is the moment you decide to see the world the way that you see it, and you begin to express that viewpoint through a specific medium, you're an artist. My purpose here is not to tell you to quit social media or even to do what I did, the 30-day detox. I'm not saying that that's necessary, and in fact, I'm not sure that it is. I think it's probably better to have moments of separation from technology throughout the whole year and finding balance in your life. The same way that you have work, sleep, exercise, balance, we could do the same thing with technology. You need to have balance in life. You will lose yourself. You will literally lose yourself and become something that you don't like. I guarantee you that. To me, I don't want to feel like I'm all this or I'm all that. Like, I don't think that's how life works. It doesn't make sense. I think it's very easy to think in terms of like a dualistic existence where it's like, it's either this or that. Like, we're either all material or we're spiritual, but you're both. Like, you're a material being, you're a magnificent being that also has a spiritual dimension to it, and those things happen at the same time. They're not separate from one another. And I think you have to serve both of those simultaneously, and that's the balance that I'm talking about. There's a spiritual dimension to the human experience, and there's a physical dimension to the human experience, and they work with one another and they affect one another. And so you can't shelf one thing and go, oh, I'm only going to focus on that, and then shelf the other thing and go, oh, I'm only going to focus on that. You have to feed them at the same time. That's the harmony and the balance that I'm talking about. And you don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to arrive anywhere. You don't need to go to an institution or a church or anything like that. You have everything you need inside of you right here and now to access everything you need in order to be happy and feel more fulfilled and feel more alive and have a more vibrant life and live a life full of vitality, which is what I think everybody wants. People want to be happy ultimately, I think, is what we're all striving for, right? So as I reapproach social media, I do it with the purpose of bringing real value to anyone that I can. I'm here to promote change and make a positive impact on my audience and whoever finds my content useful. That's my only purpose here. I'm not here to chase metrics or whatever the flavor of the day is. That's not my purpose here. I want to do anything I can to help anybody that I can with what I've learned from my experience and from my background, so that it's easier for you to navigate this landscape, social media, and hopefully you could use it as a source of good and as a tool to amplify your product or service and get access to more people than you might ever be able to without doing it. So I think that's my real purpose here. Like, I want to help people. I genuinely want to help people because it's a struggle. It's a confusing thing to navigate. And I think I've uncovered some information and I have some tools now that I think could really help people. And that's my mission and my purpose now. And so we'll see how it goes.